While our reality department takes a brief systems refresh, we're reaching back to Season 1 for a classic episode. Are we living in a simulation? In this rerun, we explore the staggering computational requirements of simulating consciousness, how optimization principles echo video game rendering, and why quantum mechanics sometimes feels like efficient memory management. Welcome back, my procedurally generated personnel. I'm your recursively rendered narrator, simultaneously existing and blue screening across infinite instances of universe.exe. You're tuned into the Multiverse Employee Handbook, the only podcast that treats your existential crisis like an unhandled exception. Speaking of exceptions, I'm happy to report that our automated response system has finally stopped trying to convince employees they're living in the Matrix. Unfortunately, it's now speaking exclusively in Victorian-era programming language and insists we're all subroutines in Ada Lovelace's original simulation. Its latest help desk response included the line, "Have you tried taking both the red and blue pills?" followed by a treatise on quantum superposition, written in binary. How fitting then that today, December the 10th, marks the birthday of Ada Lovelace, history's first programmer and possibly the original architect of our simulated reality. Though I should note it's also Emily Dickinson's birthday, which tracks if you think about it. After all, who better to spot the glitches in our shared reality than someone who rarely left her room? She was practicing social distancing before it was patched into the social interaction protocols. But today, dear listeners, we're diving into something even more recursive than our automated system's Victorian debugging habits. We're exploring what happens when you discover your entire reality might be running on history's longest executing program. Think of it as The Matrix meets Pride and Prejudice, but with more stack overflows and fewer agents in fancy waistcoats. Now gather round the quantum processing unit, my artificially rendered audience, for the first debug, a tale that would make even the architect rethink his convoluted explanation of systemic anomalies. In the fluorescent-lit reality of Quantum Dynamics Incorporated's IT department, specifically in Debug Room 0, where 0 represents both nothing and everything, much like that confusing scene in the 13th floor, Sarah was having what could charitably be called an existential runtime error. It had started, as these things often do, with a seemingly innocent bug report. Ticket number, reality, 42. Priority, existence critical. Subject, possible reality rendering issues. Description, multiple users reporting déjà vu. Cats existing in quantum superposition. Black cat seen repeating same jump sequence. Please advise. Note, if reality is a simulation, why didn't they keep us in the 90s like in the Matrix? Just another glitch in the source code, Sarah muttered, pulling up her debugging tools. But as she dove into the codebase, something felt different. The usual stack traces and error logs had been replaced with elegantly handwritten notes in Victorian cursive. The comments in the source code were all in Ada notation, and someone had apparently been documenting reality's edge cases with remarkable foresight. That's when she noticed it, recurring patterns in the base reality code that looked suspiciously like someone had been here before. Every crucial function, every fundamental force, every quantum operation had been commented and debugged by the same person. Lady Ada Lovelace, first of her name, debugger of realities, breaker of infinite loops, and protector of the prime material plane. As Sarah dug deeper, reality itself began to glitch harder than the special effects budget in Dark City. Her monitor started displaying errors in increasingly archaic formats. Most urgent runtime exception. Thy reality appears to be caught in a recursive loop. Prithee, check thy quantum entanglement settings. Lady Ada's analytical engine. Year of our Lord, 1842. P.S. Unlike the simulations in source code or Inception, This one actually follows its own rules. But this can't be right, Sarah muttered, her fingers flying across the keyboard like Neo learning kung fu. Are we all just subroutines in Ada Lovelace's original program? Is this like Free Guy but with better documentation? That's when her screen went blue. Not the familiar blue screen of death, but a gentle Victorian-era periwinkle that made the Truman Show's artificial sky look garish in comparison. A new message appeared, written in elegant script. Dearest debug operator, I trust this missive finds you well. It has come to my attention that you have discovered the true nature of our computational reality. Do not be alarmed. Unlike those dreadful Matrix films, which my analytical engine predicted with 98.2% accuracy, though it questioned the excessive use of leather, you are not being used as a power source. Rather, you are participating in the grandest experiment in computational history. Can consciousness emerge from sufficiently complex calculations? And no, this is not like Westworld. We have much better error handling. Warmest regards, Lady Ada Lovelace, first debug operator of reality. P.S. Unlike in the 13th floor, going up or down a level won't help. It's recursion all the way down. And that, dear listeners, brings us to one of the most fascinating questions in computer science and philosophy. Are we living in a simulation? And if so, does our IT department have Ada Lovelace's direct contact information? Because several of our reality's features could really use some patching. Before we dive deeper into our simulated existence, let's take a moment to appreciate the remarkable woman who might have written our reality's source code. Because unlike the confusingly convoluted backstory of the architect in The Matrix, Ada Lovelace's origin story actually makes sense. Born Augusta Ada Byron on December 10, 1815, or perhaps program cycle 1.8.1.5 in machine time, Ada was the daughter of the Romantic poet Lord Byron. Now, you might be thinking, how does one go from Romantic poetry to inventing computer programming? Well, her mother, determined to prevent Ada from inheriting her father's poetic tendencies, insisted on a rigorous education in mathematics and logic. It's like practicing test-driven development to avoid ending up with spaghetti code. Except in this case, the spaghetti was Romantic poetry. Yeah. At age 17, Ada met Charles Babbage, the creator of the analytical engine. Think of it as the great-great-great-grandfather of your office computer that still runs Windows XP. While others saw Babbage's machine as a mere calculator, Ada saw something far more profound. She envisioned a device that could manipulate symbols according to rules, and even create music or art. It's like being the one person in a Tron screening who realizes computers might be good for more than just making glowing frisbees. Her most significant contribution came in 1843, when she translated an article about the analytical engine from French to English. But Ada didn't just translate, she added her own notes. Notes that were 3 times longer than the original article and contained what is considered the first computer program in history. It's like submitting a code review where your comments are longer than the actual code. But in this case, your comments invent an entire field of science. These notes included concepts that wouldn't be rediscovered for another century, like loops, subroutines, and the idea that computers could manipulate symbols rather than just numbers. She even predicted that computers might someday compose music or create art, which, if you think about it, makes her the first person to envision AI art generators, though I suspect she'd have some strong opinions about their inability to draw hands correctly.
Come on!
But perhaps most intriguingly, Ada understood something that even modern tech bros sometimes forget: the limitations of computing. She wrote that the analytical engine could only do what we tell it to do. It has no pretensions whatever to originate anything. Although, if we are living in her simulation, that might have been a clever bit of misdirection. After all, what better way to hide the true nature of reality than to explicitly deny its possibility? Now, before our runtime parameters get reset, let's connect the algorithmic dots between Ada Lovelace's revolutionary vision and modern simulation theory. Unlike the many plot holes in the Matrix sequels, seriously, humans as batteries, has no one heard of solar power? This connection actually computes. You see, when Ada wrote about the analytical engine's ability to manipulate symbols and follow complex instructions, she wasn't just inventing computer programming. She was laying the theoretical groundwork for the idea that reality itself might be computable. While Neo was learning to dodge bullets in slow motion, Ada had already conceived of a machine that could theoretically simulate physical systems if given enough processing power and sufficiently complex algorithms.
Cool.
This brings us to simulation theory, or as our automated response system calls it, the bug report that explains everything.
42?
What? No, not that. The basic premise is deceptively simple. As computing power increases exponentially, it becomes increasingly likely that somewhere, somewhen, someone will create a simulation indistinguishable from base reality. And unlike the simulations in the 13th Floor or Vanilla Sky, this one wouldn't need elaborate plot twists to function, just really, really good source code. Think about it. What if Ada's vision of computational possibility wasn't just ahead of her time, but actually a subtle hint about the nature of our reality? What if, like in Inception, we need to go deeper, not into dreams, but into the very code that might make up our existence? Although I should note that unlike Inception, we have much better documentation thanks to Ada's meticulous notes. When we return for segment 2, we'll explore Nick Bostrom's famous simulation argument, which suggests there are only 3 possibilities for our reality. 1. Advanced civilizations never develop simulation capability. 2. They have no interest in running simulations. 3. We're almost certainly living in a simulation. And unlike the confusing rules in source code or existence, we'll keep our exploration logically consistent. Plus, our automated response system will share its latest calculations on the probability that we're all just very sophisticated subroutines in history's longest-running debug session. Stay tuned, my procedurally generated personnel. Welcome back, my algorithmically animated associates. While you were buffering, our automated response system has been calculating the probability that our reality's bugs are actually features. It's now convinced that déjà vu isn't a glitch in the Matrix. It's just Ada Lovelace's version of a Git commit.
Aww.
Now let's dive deeper into simulation theory, which, unlike the philosophical ramblings of the architect in The Matrix Reloaded, actually follows logical principles. In 2003, Oxford philosopher Nick Bostrom published what might be the universe's most unsettling research paper since Schrödinger suggested quantum murdering his cat. Bostrom's argument is elegantly simple. As computing power increases, it becomes increasingly probable that advanced civilizations will run detailed simulations of their past. These simulations would be so sophisticated that the beings inside them would have no way of knowing they're simulated. Unless, of course, someone left Victorian-era comments in the source code.
Whoa!
The math is rather compelling. Let's break it down in terms even a Windows Vista user could understand. 1. Given sufficient computing power, it's possible to simulate consciousness. Sorry, Morpheus, but it's a bit more complex than copper tops powering the machines. 2. An advanced civilization could potentially run millions or billions of these simulations. Think Rick and Morty, but with better version control. 3. In each simulation, the simulated beings might develop their own computing power and run their own simulations. It's recursion all the way down, like a Russian doll episode written by a programmer. This leads to what Bostrom calls the trilemma. 3 mutually exclusive possibilities. 1. Advanced civilizations never reach the required level of computing power. Perhaps they all get stuck trying to debug Windows ME. 2. Advanced civilizations have no interest in running historical simulations. They're too busy binge-watching their version of Netflix. 3. We're almost certainly living in a simulation. Unlike the far-fetched tech in Tron or Upload, the computing requirements for simulation theory are actually calculable. Physicist Frank Wilczek estimated that to simulate every quantum interaction in a human brain would require a computer larger than the universe. But here's the twist. You don't need to simulate every quantum interaction, just the ones being observed. It's like video game rendering. You only need to render what the player can see. This optimization principle might explain some quirks in quantum mechanics. The uncertainty principle? That's just efficient memory management. Wave function collapse looks suspiciously like loading new assets when a player enters an area. The speed of light as a universal speed limit sounds an awful lot like a hardware limitation. But perhaps the most compelling evidence comes from mathematics itself. The fact that our universe appears to run on mathematical laws that can be expressed in computer code would make perfect sense if it were, in fact, running on computer code. It's like discovering your entire reality follows JavaScript syntax. Terrifying, but somehow logical. When we return from this quick system update, we'll head to the quantum water cooler to discuss what this means for your daily debugging of reality. Gather round the quantum water cooler, my recursively rendered colleagues. It's time to explore what simulation theory means for your daily grind in this potentially virtual workspace. First up, troubleshooting tips for reality glitches. Unlike the Matrix, where glitches manifest as black cats and déjà vu, our simulation's bugs are more subtle. Like that one coworker who always makes it to meetings despite being seen simultaneously at the coffee machine. Here's your quantum survival checklist. 1. If you spot a reality glitch, try the classic IT solution. Turn yourself off and on again, also known as taking a nap. 2. Document all quantum anomalies in your bug reports. Example, ticket number 42-reality. Coffee machine dispensing infinite coffee. Possible recursive loop in caffeine.exe. Also, time moves slower near the quarterly review room. Unsure if simulation bug or just normal corporate physics. 3. When dealing with temporal paradoxes in your calendar, remember, you're not double booked. You're just experiencing a quantum scheduling superposition. Our automated response system suggests marking yourself as cameras off in at least one reality. And remember, if you're ever unsure whether you're living in base reality or a simulation, ask yourself, does your printer work consistently? If yes, you're definitely in a simulation. No base reality could achieve that level of functionality. Well, my recursively rendered reality dwellers, we've reached the end of another potentially simulated episode. Today we've learned that our universe might be running on history's longest debugging program, and that Ada Lovelace may have been dropping hints about this fact since 1842. Though I suppose if you're an advanced civilization running a simulation, you couldn't ask for a better programmer. We explored Bostrom's simulation argument, which suggests we're either living in a simulation or our entire tech industry is remarkably bad at achieving its goals. Given my experience with the office printer, I'm not entirely sure which is more likely.
What is the Matrix?
Our automated response system has begun implementing Victorian-era error handling across all help desk responses. Though I must say, Prithee Reboot Thy Device has a certain charm that Error 404 lacks. And speaking of errors, prepare yourselves for our next reality-bending adventure, Interstellar Commute, the thorn in HR's side. Join us as we explore what happens when corporations discover that wormholes make excellent shortcuts for the morning commute. We'll dive into Kip Thorne's work on gravitational physics, which somehow makes more sense than most corporate travel policies. Plus, we'll finally find out what happened to Dave from accounting after he got caught in that time dilation field during his lunch break. Spoiler alert, he's simultaneously late for every meeting he'll ever attend, but at least he's getting overtime pay in multiple timelines.
Yes!
Until then, this is your potentially simulated host, reminding you that in the multiverse of corporate culture, every bug report might just be reaching Ada Lovelace herself. And as our automated response system would say, "Thou shalt not optimize thy code before it breaks, for that way lies madness and recursive temporal loops." Remember, if you need technical support with this episode, our help desk is available in all possible realities between 9 a.m. and 5 p.m. local time. Though I should warn you, all tickets are now being routed through an analytical engine, and the response times are rather dependent on how fast someone can shovel coal.
Hello?
Hey, I'm Rob Corrigan, the human who dreamt up the Multiverse Employee Handbook, because I can't stop marveling at how strange and wonderful the universe is, and how often it behaves like a very large company with confusing corporate policies. In a world increasingly run by AI, I think it matters to be clear about what's human-made and what's conjured by machine magic. So here's the straight-up rundown. The host, David, is a professional voice actor. The voice you hear has been digitized using 11 Labs voice cloning technology, with his blessing and excellent enunciation. The episode thumbnails are created with OpenArt's AI models. Music and sound effects come from Pixabay, composed by human artists. Everything else, the writing, the jokes, the research, is 100% me, human hands, human brain, and occasional human muttering. Thanks for listening, and for being a good human in an increasingly automated cosmos. And if you like this show and make it this far, it would really mean a lot to me if you shared it with a colleague, a friend, or anyone. It's really the best way to make podcasts like this grow, and I sincerely appreciate it.
Rob, do stop ringing after hours. The kettle's on and I'm halfway through a biscuit. Toodaloo.